Story number 1. It was never supposed to be a permanent job. Maya Jennings had taken the graveyard shift at the Regional Data Center for Datronic Systems just to pay off a few student loans. The job was dull. Babysit the servers from midnight to 8 a.m., run backups, and send a system report to the day team. She was alone in a 12-story office building, at least she thought she was. The building used to be an old textile mill, repurposed in the early 2000s. Though the interior was sleek and modern, certain areas, like the basement archives and printer rooms, still had exposed pipes and flickering industrial lighting. Maya had been on the job for 3 weeks when she received her first phantom print request. It came from printer room 3C, which, according to her orientation manual, was no longer in use. The print job read, Incident Report, 3:17 a.m. Fatality in Room 3C Employee, Samuel Dent. The report had no date, no letterhead, and it hadn't come from any machine she was authorized to access. She crumpled it and tossed it in the shred bin. The next night, the same job printed again. Same time, 3:17 a.m. This time, it was accompanied by a second page. Photos attached. The images were black and white, grainy, but clearly showed a man. Early 40s, bald, pale, slumped over a desk, blood pooling from a gash on his head. Behind him, in the reflection of the printer glass, was a tall figure in a suit. No face, no eyes, just a shadow. Maya, unnerved but still skeptical, brought the pages to her supervisor, Greg, the next morning. He brushed it off with a chuckle. Printer room 3C doesn't even have power. That floor's being gutted next month. Ghost in the machine, maybe. But he looked nervous, sweaty, like he knew something. The next night, printer room 3C called her. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the phone on her desk rang. The screen read, 3C line active. Maya answered, whispering hello. All she heard was static. Then a distorted voice that croaked, Help me, I'm still here. She hung up. At 3:18, a print job came through. This time, survivor statement Maya Jennings. Found deceased. 4:04 a.m. She checked the building clock. It was 3:19. Panic set in. She fled her cubicle and rode the elevator up to the 3rd floor. The halls were empty, dark, but printer room 3C's door was open. A faint humming sound spilled out. The overhead lights buzzed and flickered. Inside was a dusty and used office with an unplugged printer. Yet it was still printing. Page after page shot out onto the floor. You shouldn't be here. It watches through the toner. He never left. 3:17 is his hour. A thump sounded behind her. She turned. Standing in the doorway was a man in a Datronics polo, pale and glassy-eyed. Blood trickled down his temple. Are you here to replace me? He asked. Maya bolted, but the door slammed shut. She clawed at the knob. Behind her, the hum of the printer grew deafening, turning into static, then whispers, then screaming. A light bulb burst above her head. The room plunged into darkness, then silence. The next morning, Greg arrived at 7:59 a.m. He found Maya at her desk, unconscious, her eyes wide open and unblinking. Next to her, in the shred bin, were dozens of pages, all printed from a disconnected printer in room 3C, all with the same message. Do not work the night shift. No one talks about what happened that night. But since then, every new night shift employee receives an anonymous email their first week with an attached PDF. Emergency Evacuation Protocol, Room 3C. No one knows who sends it, and no one ever answers a call from that line again. Story number 2. It was Evelyn's first week working nights at Reveltech, a mid-sized software firm in downtown Chicago, known more for its generous pay than its transparency. The office was in a narrow high-rise tower built in the 1940s, retrofitted for modern work. But no matter how modern the Wi-Fi or the coffee machines were, something about the building always felt old. Not just in materials, but in spirit. Evelyn's job was basic: monitor system logs, respond to support tickets, and log hourly reports. Most nights passed in silence. except for the occasional buzz from a dying overhead light or the soft purr of ventilation. On Wednesday, a strange system alert popped up at 1:13 a.m. Unauthorized login. Floor 13, Terminal 2. Evelyn frowned. The building, like many old towers, skipped from the 12th to the 14th floor. There was no floor 13. Not on the elevator. Not in the emergency stairwell. She checked the building blueprint on the company's internal network. Floor 13 wasn't listed. Still, the alert kept appearing every night at exactly 1:13 a.m. Unauthorized login. Floor 13, Terminal 2. On Friday night, curiosity overcame caution. At 1:10 a.m., she slipped out of her cubicle and walked to the stairwell. On a whim, she counted the floors as she descended from 16, 15, 14, 12. Then something strange happened. Between the 12th and 14th floor was a landing with no number. Just a blank metal door. There was no handle, only a keycard slot. To her shock, when she passed her staff card over the reader, it turned green. With a hiss, the door opened into darkness. The air smelled wrong, like mildew and rusted wires. The hallway was narrow, lit only by intermittent red emergency lights that buzzed faintly. It looked like a floor frozen in time. Office furniture covered in plastic sheets, cubicles half-built, old CRT monitors flickering with static. She turned on her phone flashlight and moved forward. Every desk had a nameplate. The names were odd. M. Haven, C. Goraz, L. Twine. None of these names existed in the employee directory. Then she found Terminal 2, a computer sitting at a perfectly clean desk in the middle of the floor. The monitor glowed dimly, showing a login screen. Username, root13. Password, _. The screen began typing on its own. Welcome, Evelyn. She stepped back, startled. The screen blinked, then loaded a text document titled, Final Shift Report, July 3, 1979. That was over 40 years ago. She opened it. It read, 3 a.m. I hear typing even when I'm not near the terminals. 3:11 a.m. Elevator doors open, but no one exits. 3:12 a.m. Someone whispered my name. 3:13 a.m. I'm not alone anymore. A loud ping echoed behind her. A printer, massive and dust-covered, began to print in the corner. She approached slowly. The printer was jammed. As she tried to open it, a whisper slithered through the air. Finish the shift, Evelyn. She turned. A tall man in an outdated Reveltech uniform stood at the end of the hall, face completely void of features. No eyes, no mouth, just pale, taut skin stretched across bone. She ran. Down the corridor, through the door. But when she burst back into the stairwell, she realized she wasn't alone. Behind her, the door hadn't closed. A hand reached out. Pale, long fingers, blackened nails. She slammed the door and ran up the stairs until she reached her floor. The rest of the shift passed in silence, but every screen she looked at reflected more than just her face. That morning, she went to the building supervisor. There's something on floor 13, she said, trying not to sound insane. The supervisor frowned. Miss, there's no 13th floor. I was on it. His face paled. No one's accessed that floor since the fire. What fire? He stood, walked to a locked drawer, and produced an old newspaper clipping. July 4, 1979, 7 killed in office fire on unmarked floor. No exit signs. Cause unknown. Beneath the headline was a grainy image of the building. Evelyn pointed to the scorched windows. That's the floor. He nodded grimly. We sealed it off. Power should be disconnected. No one ever goes there. And those who do. He trailed off. Later that day, Evelyn went home and submitted her resignation. But every night at 1:13 a.m., she gets an email from a sender named Root13. Subject, your shift isn't over. She never opens them, but they keep coming. Story number 3. It was supposed to be a temporary gig. Ray had been laid off from his previous job, and taking the night shift at Strathmore and Company was just a way to stay afloat. The pay was decent, the building was downtown but quiet at night, and he figured he'd just be watching cameras and answering the occasional call. But the building had its own history, a strange mix of corporate success and whispered stories among older employees, particularly about Floor 9. No one talked about it directly, but Ray had heard things. Quiet jokes, avoided glances when the floor was mentioned. It didn't help that in the elevator, the 9th floor button was always slightly recessed, like it was pressed too hard too often, or not at all. Ray's duties didn't usually include Floor 9. His patrols were scheduled from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., covering floors 1 to 8 and 10 to 12. He asked about it once, jokingly. "What about 9?" he said, grinning. His supervisor, Greg, went pale. "Don't go to 9. Ray laughed. "Seriously?" Greg didn't blink. "I mean it. That should have been enough." But boredom does strange things at 3 a.m. It was a Tuesday night when Ray's curiosity finally got the better of him. The building was quiet, save for the hum of the fluorescent lights. Cameras showed nothing out of place, and that damned 9th floor button seemed to almost glow when he passed it. He pressed it. The elevator groaned, more than usual, and began to descend. As it slowed to a halt, the lights flickered, and the soft instrumental music cut out. The doors opened with a reluctant hiss. The 9th floor was in perfect shape, yet it felt like it had been abandoned for decades. Desks were still arranged neatly, computers still humming, screensavers bouncing from corner to corner. But a layer of dust coated everything. There was no sound, not even the building's usual electrical buzz. Ray stepped out. The elevator closed behind him. He tried to call it back, but the button didn't respond. No light, no ding, nothing. "Great," he muttered. He decided to walk to the stairwell at the far end of the hall. As he walked, he passed the glass-walled meeting rooms. Every single one had chairs pulled out as if a meeting had just finished. But the notepads on the tables were covered in old, yellowed pages. The pens had dried ink. One chair was slowly spinning. When he reached the stairwell, the door wouldn't open. No keycard reader, no mechanical lock, just a door that refused to move. Something flickered in the reflection of a dark monitor. A shape. He turned. Nothing. Ray pulled out his radio. "Control, this is Ray. I'm on 9. Elevator isn't responding. Doors are stuck. Need assistance." The radio hissed, then went silent. Then static. Then a voice. "There is no Ray." He froze. The voice wasn't Greg. It wasn't human. He tried the stairwell door again. Still locked. He sprinted back to the elevator. Still no response. The floor lights dimmed, leaving only emergency red glows. One by one, the monitors on desks began to turn on. Each one showed a different angle of the 9th floor, camera feeds he'd never seen before. There were shots from under desks, shots from ceiling corners. One feed showed the elevator. One showed him standing there, confused, terrified. Then they started showing more. People. Faces that shouldn't be there. Faces watching from the shadows. Faces pressed to glass from the inside of empty offices. Blank eyes. Open mouths. Twitching heads. One screen zoomed in. It showed his own face. Then, behind him, a figure. Tall. Slouched. Wearing an old, out-of-date Strathmore and Company blazer. Its face was a mess of shadows and writhing black. Ray turned. Nothing. But a desk drawer behind him creaked open. Inside, a name tag. Raymond Keller, Systems Security. But that made no sense. That was his name. And he never had a desk on this floor. The tag was aged. The photo on it was decades old. And it was him, just younger. Panic took over. He ran toward the windows. But where there should have been city lights, there was only fog. Thick, dark, swirling fog that pressed against the glass like it was alive. Then, over the intercom, a message played. "All employees report to Floor 9 for end-of-shift protocol." Footsteps echoed from behind cubicles. Chairs scraped. Office doors opened. But no one was there. And then Ray saw them. Walking slowly out of the shadows, moving unnaturally, office workers. Dozens of them. Pale, glassy-eyed, dressed in outdated business attire. One woman was missing half her face. A man's torso was twisted the wrong way. They didn't make a sound. They all turned to look at him. Ray bolted. He screamed into his radio. "Get me out of here." Greg's voice finally crackled through. "Ray, where the hell are you? The cameras are showing you on floor 8. But you're not." "I'm on 9. "Ray, there's no one on floor 9. That floor's been shut down since the fire in '87. You weren't assigned there." "I'm standing here right now." Silence. Greg's voice came back. Quiet. "You need to get out. Whatever you do, don't let them touch you." The elevator dinged behind him. It opened. Inside was pitch black. With no other choice, he ran in. The doors closed, and for a moment, it felt like the whole floor screamed in frustration. The elevator lights flickered. Then it started moving. He braced himself. When the doors opened, he was back in the lobby. It was 6:03 a.m. Greg was waiting for him, pale and shaking. "You should never have gone there." Ray quit that day. A week later, he received a package at his apartment. No return address. Inside, a single item. A Strathmore and Company employee badge. The name on it read, "Ray Keller, Floor 9 Security." The photo? It was him, but with black, empty eyes, and a twisted smile. Story number 4. It was Leah's first week working the night shift as a junior compliance officer at Langridge Financial, a prestigious firm with floors of empty offices and ghostly silence after 9 p.m. The company had expanded rapidly, but despite its massive success, very few people knew what actually happened on the 18th floor. It wasn't on the elevator directory. It wasn't mentioned in staff memos. Even in onboarding, there was a suspicious absence of any documentation for floor 18. People joked it was HR's black site or the CEO's secret lair. Most passed it off as nothing. Leah wasn't interested in corporate mysteries. She just wanted to survive her probationary period and keep the job. Her shift started at 6 p.m. and ended at 4 a.m. She monitored flagged accounts, logged data anomalies, and occasionally sent reports to the compliance inbox. Just another cog in a towering, humming machine. But that all changed on a Wednesday. At exactly 3:33 a.m., she received a memo via the internal network. No subject line, no sender, just one word in the body. Review. Attached was a folder titled F-18 Archives. Leah froze. She wasn't supposed to have access to anything with an F-18 prefix. She knew that from her first day NDA, but the system let her open it. Inside were documents dated back to the early 2000s, meeting transcripts, employee evaluations, psychological profiles, and something called the ROT protocol. Before she could open it, her screen went black. All the lights in the office flickered, then stabilized. Then the email disappeared from her inbox. Her computer restarted itself. The mouse moved on its own for a second before freezing completely. A new window opened, a live security feed. It showed an office hallway she didn't recognize. Dim lights, yellowing wallpaper. The camera angle was shaky, like it was handheld. There was a door at the end. On the frosted glass, 18-7B, records. She leaned closer. The door opened. A figure stepped out, wearing a Langridge security uniform, but the face was blurred, smeared like someone had dragged a wet brush over the pixels. The figure turned and looked into the camera. Leah's screen went black again. When it rebooted, her mouse wouldn't move. Her computer kept opening the file folder over and over. F-18 Archives. F-18 Archives. F-18 Archives. She pulled out her phone. No signal. The office was dead quiet. No hum from the vending machine. No buzz from overhead lights. She stood up. Across the room, the printer began to churn. Paper shot out slowly, one sheet at a time. Each sheet was blank, except for a timestamp and a name. 3:33 a.m., Leah M. Granger. 3:34 a.m., blank. 3:35 a.m., blank. She stared at the blank spaces below her name, stretching page after page. Suddenly, she heard the soft hum of the elevator. She hadn't called it. She turned. The doors opened with a groan. Inside dark. No lights, but the panel was lit. And on it, the number 18 was glowing bright red. She backed away. Then the lights in the hallway beyond her office turned off. One by one. Like something or someone was approaching. The office went cold. She tried her phone again. Still dead. Her computer booted up, but this time there was no desktop. Just a terminal. Lines of code scrolled. Faster and faster. Until it stopped. The final line read, "Do not run." She ran. Down the hall. Past cubicles. Past empty offices where figures seemed to shift behind glass as she passed. She didn't dare stop. The elevator was still open, but that wasn't safe either. She slammed through the stairwell door, only to find the stairs downward blocked by crates marked F18 storage, do not remove. The only way was up. She climbed to floor 19, but the door wouldn't open. She descended to 17, locked, and then she saw it. Another door, half hidden behind the crates. Its paint was peeling. On it, F18 archives. She didn't remember this door being here before, but it opened. Inside was a long hallway with flickering fluorescent lights, ceiling panels torn out, cords hanging like vines. The floor was damp. The walls pulsed slightly, like they were breathing. "Hello?" she whispered. A static hum answered. She walked, past cubicle shelves filled with half-melted phones, sticky notes with scribbled messages like, "They won't let us leave," and "It's in the servers." She reached the final room. 18-7B. Records. The door creaked open. Inside were rows of filing cabinets, a single desk, and an old, dusty computer still running. On the monitor, her photo. Below it, next compliance officer. Leah Granger, confirmed. Footsteps behind her. She turned. The blurred-faced figure from the video, now clear. It was her. But not her. Sunken eyes. Lips sewn shut. Skin pale and glistening like it had never seen daylight. It raised a hand. Pointed to the screen. Then everything went black. Leah woke up at her desk. 3:32 a.m. Her screen was normal. No folders. No emails. She looked around. Everything looked fine. But the printer began to buzz again. Paper slowly pushed out. 3:33 a.m. Leah M. Granger. Then, 3:34 a.m. Nathaniel P. Owens. She didn't know anyone by that name, until a man walked in, yawning, coffee in hand. "Hey, you must be Leah. I'm Nate. Just transferred here from the Dallas office. Compliance. Night shift." She looked at the printer. Kept printing. 3:35 a.m. Blank. 3:36 a.m. Blank. 3:37 a.m. Blank. The line was always waiting, and every 3:33 someone new was next.